Welcome to the show. Hope you're having a good Friday. It is raining here in South Bend, so it's kind of bleh here this afternoon. I'm Sean. He's Vince. Jesse will be along shortly. It sounds like he got held up with some work stuff. We were holding out, but we figured that we better get in here and keep Salty company the way the chat was looking. So
yeah, and just so you know, Salty, it wasn't me and it wasn't Sean. So this time it was not me. I was here on time.
That's right. Vince was here on time. We've got plenty of stuff that we're going to get to, of course, in the course of today's show. I feel like we should probably just start off, obviously rest in peace, Jim Brown, one of the greatest football players, let alone running backs in NFL history, passed away this afternoon.
Did not even know that.
He was 87 years old. He lived a very long, good life, very great, great career. What strikes me about Jim Brown is, like, between the two of us, I grew up, like in the 70s when Jim Brown was still the rushing king. He was still the NFL's all-time leading rusher. And it took until 1984, after young Vince D'Addario had been born, before Walter Payton, of course, broke that record. But Jim Brown is still 11th all-time in NFL history, only 118 total games. He played 12. Wow. He only played 9 seasons, 12 games a season for the first 4 years, only 14 games a season for the last 5, and he is still 11th all-time in NFL history with over 12,000 yards. That, to me, is amazing. That, you knew that, that's one of those records. When they start adding games and stuff like that, those records are going to fall at some point. But for him to be sitting there with 118, Frank Gore is number 3 all time. He played in 241 games, more than double what Jim Brown played in. And Jim is still 11th all time in NFL history. That's amazing to me.
Man, you're not kidding. That's unbelievable. And his legacy speaks for itself on the field. And then obviously, what he did off the field, being an advocate and all these different things, and an activist. And I mean, he touched a lot of lives, whether as a football fan, a football person, or non-football person. I mean, he's a pretty well-known guy, and very sad to hear that he passed away. You are the one that broke it to me. That's how much I was on social media today. So that was not expecting that in any way. So that, rest in peace, Jim Brown. That's incredibly sad.
Absolutely. Yeah, again, 87 years old. He lived a long life, great career. And, he was one of those guys who still showed up from time to time. You'd kind of see him around. He made the rounds whenever he could. So rest in peace, though. Hopefully Jesse is with us here in a little bit. And it sounds like Ryan. Is it Ryan and Brian? Are they doing a show together over there?
I was watching a little bit of it earlier, but yeah, they're doing their show, and I don't know if they're done or if they're still going, as far as I can tell.
All right, well, we'll get going here as well on this show. Fill in the blank. ESPN's SP Plus model projects Notre Dame to score 36.6 points a game this season, and it would be blank if that is their scoring average.
A little disappointing, but doable. Like, I still think they can win a lot of games with that scoring average. I don't generally agree with a lot of the analytics that ESPN comes up with, because most of the time they're ridiculous. And I don't know why they don't adjust or change them, because they hardly ever come to fruition with most of the teams that they're projecting, as far
they
as
defend them to the death. It seems like
it's
like Bill Barnwell's got all these. Here's what
I mean, it's just bad. It's just bad.
Yeah.
But 36-6, so you're 37 points a game. I want 40, and that's only a 3-point difference. Like, that's not that much. And so I still feel like they can do a lot of damage at that point, but it'll still be a little bit disappointing because I do want a little bit more.
I completely agree. Disappointing is the first thing that came to mind for me. What computer models can't predict, though, is how inexperienced players are going to produce. And and then even with the most experienced player they've got, Sam Hartman, he's coming from another system, but he's going to be throwing to relatively inexperienced receivers in at least a tweaked system. So, how can a computer model reliably predict what that is going to look like? 36.6 would still be the third best scoring average in a season in the last 18 years if that happens. 2019, they averaged 36.8. 2005, Charlie Weiss's first season, 36.7. So it would still be solid, but I just feel like for me, with everything that we've seen with Sam Hartman, with the whole array of talent offensively, 38 is kind of my floor, I think, for this
Okay.
team. Like that's what I think the number needs to be. Like sitting there at 38. And like you look at the fact they even mentioned in the article, that they averaged 31.8 points a game last year, 23.7 over their first 6 games, but it exploded to 38.8 over their last 6. Now, part of that is who you're playing, obviously, but they also played
Absolutely.
teams in the first 6 games of the season that they should have been able to score more.
Didn't play well, that's for sure.
They didn't. The Stanford obviously comes to mind. Marshall comes to mind. But USC and Clemson were part of that last 6 as well. Yeah, Cal. But USC and Clemson were part of that last 6 as well. So I just feel like I'm with you. Like 36.6 is still a solid number, but exactly what you said. I would still be a little bit disappointed if that's what it ends up being based on what they've got.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Like I said, I expect fireworks, honestly, this year, and 36.6 is not fireworks.
No.
So I expect to see a lot of scoring, maybe even some shootouts. I don't know, but I still expect this team to be able to put the ball in the end zone.
By the way, I didn't mention, smash that like button and, of course, subscribe, rate, review, leave us a comment on your podcast platform, whatever it happens to be. In the meantime, how about another topic? Because it's rapid fire, and I keep getting text. Can you hear the text coming through on my
vaguely
when that happens?
Yes.
Okay. Hopefully most of it comes in my headphones then. But again, I just feel like if the offense and the quarterback and the system we saw last year can average almost 32 points per game, I would be pretty disappointed if it only goes up by about 4.5 points a game, 4.5, 5 points a game this season.
Yeah, it would be very disappointing. I agree completely.
Yeah. So I've seen this one floating around the last couple of days, and this felt like, rapid fire Friday. It's the place to discuss it. Names on the back of the jerseys for Notre Dame. Do you buy it? Do you sell it?
It's funny. I know this is going to shock you, but I have been a proponent of the no name on the back of the jersey for as long as I can remember, because I'm big on tradition. Don't like change very much. I always sit at the same place in the admin meeting. Like I always sat in the same place in the classroom if there wasn't a seating chart. I'm a pretty traditional guy.
Right.
I'm all for the names on the back. I really honestly don't mind. I kind of liked it, or I shouldn't say I like it currently when they do it for the bowl games. I think it adds a little bit of something to it. I like the fact that they put them on the back of the green jerseys this past year. I thought that was actually pretty cool. And
I'm going to be honest, I didn't even realize they did that until I just recently saw a photo of that.
No kidding.
Like, were those superimposed? Did they actually do? And then
they did.
I think I do remember now because we were talking about it, and the numbers obviously are blue, but they put the names in white on the back, and the fact that they were different, and it was just like a weird kind of generic font that they had on there.
It was weird, but I did like it, and I'm okay with it, especially in the world of NIL and name, image, and likeness, that kind of a thing. Let these guys, it's okay to be an individual at times or be a part of a team, but be individualized. Like I'm actually okay with it. before I was a big, play for the team on the front and not in the name on the back, and all of those, all those cliches. You know what? I kind
I
of
wish
get
I
it,
had my
man.
bell. I was waiting to see if you hit that note. So I'm glad you didn't disappoint.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, I tell you, you know me too well.
That's
So
right.
I'm for it, man. Put the names on the back. Put them on the back.
It just feels like now's the time to do it. The other sports, men's and women's basketball specifically, they have names on the backs of their jerseys if they can, and they're easier to see on TV when a basketball player is there and they've got the names on the backs of their jerseys. So if they can, why can't Notre Dame? And like Chi-Town says, do it for the bowl game and for the Shamrock Series. And I could
I get it.
probably see that, but they
I get
already
it.
made an exception for the green jerseys as well. So like
Yeah.
you're at the very least making the exception for a handful of games already. Why not do it? We're in the NIL era. I've got and I've kind of gone back and forth with the tradition as well. Like, what traditions do you really need to hold on to?
Mm-hmm.
Which ones are worth moving on from? And it just feels like in an NIL world where you know they're able to make money off their name, image, and likeness. Why
Name.
not just put the names on the back? And from a broadcast standpoint as well, when you see them on like, and it
The
is
double numbers and stuff. Like,
that's what I was getting ready to say.
yeah.
It is college where you have double numbers. There actually is a reason for it. When you have so many, like last year, you had Audric Estime and Isaiah Foskey. Now you're probably not going to confuse one for the other, but at the same time, they both had the same number, and they're both very prominent players.
Yeah.
So why
Yeah,
not?
absolutely. Absolutely. And look, I get where everybody's coming from. People are like, it's tradition, it's classic without the name. I get it. And I would not be upset if they decided to stick with the no names. I'm just okay if they do it. I've come over, I guess, to the dark side a little bit when it comes to the names. It doesn't bother me that much anymore. And I kind of like the way it looks.
Yeah, I do too. Let me ask you this. We talked about green jerseys fairly recently, maybe within the last 3 or 4 weeks or something like that. If the choice was names on the jerseys, more green jerseys, or alternate helmets that they wear twice a year, what would be your choice there if you could only pick one of those three things?
So you're saying get a different type of green jersey and just wear it more often? Is that the green jersey part
You
of it?
wear green jerseys more often.
Okay,
Yes.
gotcha. So it's like okay, got you.
Regardless of what the
Right.
jersey, yeah, what that jersey ends up. And I'm talking about non-Shamrock, basically.
Right. So maybe like 2-3 times a year, depending. You can wear them on the road. You could wear. Okay.
Yeah.
If I had to pick between those three, it's third place by a good range would be changing helmets.
Okay.
One of the most classic things about Notre Dame is the helmet. You keep the helmet the way it is, unless you're doing a specific Shamrock series. And even then,
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of it. But that's the only time that I would touch the helmet. So that one's a distant third to me. I would actually not mind them wearing green a little bit more often. So that's the one I will pick. And names would be a close second, but I would rather them wear green a little bit more often.
I would as well. And like I've always felt like an easy compromise for green is just to do what they did in the 91, 92 Sugar Bowl when they played Florida. And when they go on the road, just make the numbers green
Right.
and
The
wear
green
some green
numbers.
socks with it. Yeah.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
it's not an actual green jersey, but just make the numbers green.
Yeah.
Like I think that would be a really good look. It would, it'd be something different, kind of differentiate a little bit. Again, it is Notre Dame, and there are a handful of schools like Notre Dame, Penn State, USC, Michigan, Ohio State to an extent, Texas, probably. Like you're not going to mess with the look of the uniform very much. Like Ohio State, just an abomination when they did that black helmet thing.
It's horrible.
They've done that the last few years. But my point is, all these other schools with the the alternating alternate uniforms and all these different looks that they throw out there. There's only so much Notre Dame is going to be willing to do. So why not just throw in something like the white with the green numbers on there.
Yep.
I think it would be a cool look. Somebody was just saying, and I flashed it up there, gold jerseys. That's something that they haven't done with
It's
the
tough.
Shamrock series that maybe they could do in a Shamrock series sometime.
Gold is a tough color to put on fabric. It's just for a jersey
To get it to
like
look right, probably.
yes,
Yeah, because I was
it
going to
could
say,
look
like, do you
really
even see
bad.
any?
It
Yeah.
could look really bad if you do it wrong, and I would hate to see them do it wrong, if that makes sense. I just don't know how I feel about gold jerseys. That's a tough sell for me because I just think it's difficult. It's not going to match with the helmet because that'd be freaking weird, right? If it
Mhm.
was all shiny, that kind of a thing. So it's just it would be very, very difficult to make that happen and be the right shade and all of those things.
This is a good point. Gold is a trim, not a primary
Yeah.
color. Now,
I
there, like back, like the Niele Ivy, Ruth Riley 2001 national championship team, they wore gold, tops and bottoms all the time with navy. Now, and those look good. Now, I don't know what that would look like as a football jersey, but it was actually a pretty good look with, it was like gold, kind of satiny gold with navy blue numbers and stuff like that. And I know the men's basketball has worn them from time to. It's been a
yeah.
long time, I think, but they used to wear that same gold look as well. But I do tend to agree, gold is definitely more of a trim and
Yeah.
not a primary. But again, if you did it like in a Shamrock Series game where maybe you went with, like, if you got a good gold material with navy blue numbers and then like a solid white pant or something, or even like blue stripes on the sides of the pant, white
Yeah.
pants or something like that, that could look pretty good. Be something to play
I would
around
like to
with.
see some mock-ups before I get
For
on
sure.
board because
For sure.
I'm such a visual person.
Yeah.
I would need to see it to understand. They're talking about the Vegas Golden Knights, the hockey team, and that apparently they wear gold as their home uniforms.
Okay.
Couldn't even tell you. Don't watch hockey. Never seen the Golden Knights uniforms ever. So I'm gonna Google it right now
Do that. And
because
then maybe flash it up here on the screen if you can
I
find
have
it.
no idea what they look like.
I don't
Okay,
either. I mean,
so
that would have been, they did wear white with gold when they went out to Vegas last year. So, like, if they were going to
it's
wear
true.
gold, it seemed like maybe that would have been the time to do it. But
Let's see
maybe
if I can
Under
get
Armour
this
didn't
figured
have
out here.
the kind of gold that they would have liked to see. I don't know. You finding it?
Yep, I just got to click like 17 times to get it to come up.
Up there
All
it
right,
is.
did it come up? All right.
Yeah.
So that would be the gold, I guess. That's the back. I don't know. I'm obviously looking at I just typed in the
Yeah.
website.
These are hockey, so they're a little busy. So it's hard
They are
to.
very busy. They are
Yeah.
very busy. Here,
Way too many colors beyond
yeah.
just the gold in
I kind of
there.
want to see like what does the
It's
front
not.
look like?
I
I don't
noticed it
know.
is Adidas, which
That's true.
was what I was talking about that the
Whoa.
Irish women used to wear back in the day.
Apparently, I tried to zoom in and got nothing but white. So,
All right.
that's awesome. All right. I got to figure out how to
Interesting.
stop. There we go. All right.
Okay. Moving on then. So the University of Tennessee is looking at building a 12-story boutique hotel that overlooks Neyland Stadium there in Knoxville. In addition to the hotel, the school wants to build an entertainment district filled with restaurants, retail shops, a rooftop bar, all next to their football stadium. Like, if you've been to Wrigley Field in the last few years, apparently it would be something similar to that, only probably a little bit bigger since you're talking, football stadium
Yeah.
as opposed to ballpark and all these things that they're talking about, like shopping, everything else that's going into it. Is this something that you could see or you would want to see Notre Dame potentially do?
I think obviously that's two different questions. Could I see Notre Dame doing it? No. Would I mind if they did it? I really wouldn't. I don't really have an issue with them doing that. I think a hotel would be actually kind of cool. They'll never do it in a million years, and it would be difficult with the way the stadium is constructed to put a hotel there that that would be difficult.
I mean,
the way that they have it.
If they were going to do it, you would do it like where Legends is right
Sure.
now, I would think, right?
Sure.
They're not going to
Right.
do it on the library side. They're obviously not going to do it on the basketball
Everything
side.
would have to be on the southern side of the
Yeah.
stadium, like where the parking lot is and all of that.
Yeah. There's enough room there.
Yeah.
They obviously already have their own hotel on campus. So,
But that's on the other side of campus, and it's
right.
like a 2-story or whatever. It's not super big,
Yeah.
and it's very luxury. It's very luxury, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't
I mean,
mind it. I
it's
really
another,
don't.
it would be another a huge revenue stream once you
Oh
got
my
it going. You
gosh.
know, like game day weekend, that place would be packed. It's like, you come in and you stay right there on campus, you
Yeah.
roll out, and you've got like your restaurant, bar, whatever it happens to be right there. It would be interesting. I couldn't see them doing it, but again, like if you did it
Right.
right, and like, again, like just based on what that thing at Wrigley Field. Have you been to Wrigley Field since they built that
I have
hotel and all the
not. I've
stuff
seen
outside?
pictures, but I have not been there to actually witness it with my own 2 eyes in quite some time. Something I'd like to do this summer, actually.
Yeah.
But
And I mean, it's got that hotel that sits right next to Wrigley now. I guess that's down the left field line. And they've got
okay.
like one of those, like a big artificial turf area
Yeah.
outside where the kids can run around and
No, they
play.
put the
And,
game up on the big screen apparently because they always
yeah,
show like the kids on the screen and then they see themselves on there and they're all waving and everything. So
right.
it looks like a pretty cool area nowadays. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah.
And I guess, my only thing is, if you would have asked me 15 years ago, I would say Notre Dame will never do something like this. But
Right.
then the Crossroads project came
Yeah.
along and they completely redid the actual stadium. So, like, if they're going to do that kind of work to the stadium itself, I wouldn't put it past them to do anything, And again, this is you do this because it's your own personal revenue stream. Like people are staying in hotels all over the city and all over the county, and as far away as Chicago. You build it on your campus and you own
Yeah.
it, and then you're getting all the revenue direct to you out of that.
Now, I would say Eddy Street Commons is a little bit like having stuff close to the campus.
Right.
And Notre Dame owns all that, don't they? I mean, that's all. And they got some
I believe.
hotels in there and like
Yeah.
so I mean, it's kind of like that cuz they got some shopping, they got restaurants, they got a bar, hotels, like the whole thing, but it's not like what you're describing and like
Buttered up.
attached and like right there.
Yeah,
So,
and like and again, like I don't think you want it completely attached like what Tennessee is even talking about.
right.
And the difference down there is they have a river that goes right by the stadium, so they're talking about,
Gotcha.
sort of using that for some extra, you've got like, like river walk type stuff,
I
and
think
where
that's
some of the
cool.
stuff would be.
Like
Oh yeah,
I would
absolutely.
actually enjoy that experience. Now it would be a madhouse, obviously during the season and on game day and all of that. But I dig it, man. I dig what they did to Wrigley. Like I dig what they did, downtown with the South Bend Cubs. Putting those apartments out there in the outfield, kind of making it look a little bit like Wrigley Field. Like I think that's the modern way of going about it. They're talking about doing that to the Chicago Bears when they build in Arlington. Like it's going to be a whole thing, right? So I think it's a good idea. It's kind of the future of stadiums and all of that fun stuff.
Yeah, Chi-Town says, now this is a, still a sore subject here in town,
Yeah,
that money pit that just sits downtown, where the old college football Hall of Fame is, that's nothing. I think that's a little bit too far away,
it's
though.
too
I mean,
far.
that would be
Yeah.
because like, again, like Tennessee is literally doing it right there on campus next to the stadium. We're just talking, Jesse, as Jesse jumps in with us right now. Welcome, by the way. Glad to have you. Sound like things got busy for you there a little bit.
My boss called me 5 minutes before 5,
That's always fun.
and we just got off the phone.
I
So,
hope he watches
yeah.
the show.
Yeah, does
You
he ever
know-
watch you? Does he ever say, "Hey, I saw you on your show the other
Nope.
day"? Anything like that?
Nope. Nope.
Nope.
Because then it would be, "Why aren't you working more?"
You give your boss something 2 weeks ago. He tells the client that it's going to go out today, and then we don't receive his comments until this morning. and we were given about
So then
8.
you have to do the correction.
You got to try to get
and-
everything.
yeah.
It's a fire drill to try to get everything done. And then a major redesign came up, and I just had to tell them that it can't go out today unless you want a crappy product to go out, and it's 5:30 on a Friday. So I'm out of there.
Yeah. Good for
Glasses are on. I've had a long day designing, baby.
you.
Stormwater
Is it cocktail
design.
time right now? Like,
It'll
is
be
it-
cocktail time as soon as this show is over.
Cocktail o'clock.
Yes.
So we were just talking about the project that Tennessee is doing down there by the stadium.
Yeah, I had some good comments on this one actually.
All right, well, let's hear it. Since you missed the first couple topics, we don't want to jip you out here. I mean, if you have anything to add on the names on the jerseys or anything else for that matter, but
yeah, I'll be quick on those other ones. 36.6 games. That'll be electric considering the offense that we've seen out of Notre Dame in past seasons. If you could put up 35 a game, I mean, college football today is about the offense and scoring points, and that's what I want to see, especially knowing Notre Dame's deficiencies in the offense in the past. I want to see them put up a lot of points.
Vince and I would both be disappointed with that number. Actually,
Too low.
We think they should score more than that.
Really? I mean, but you got to factor in that's like a season average. Like you'll be over that against some teams, but you're not going to probably put up 36 against Ohio State.
You better if you want to win. I'm just saying, you better
like
if you want to win.
Would 40 be cool? Yeah, but I think 36 is a realistic number. And I think that's a high number for a season average. 36
it would be
game.
It would be the third highest scoring average in the last 18 years if it happened. So it would still be solid. Like I said, my minimal is around 38. Vince wants 40. I'm around 38. They averaged almost 39.
Shoot for 40, but 36 would be cool. I'd be happy with it.
They averaged almost 39 a game over the last 6 games of last season with Drew Pine at quarterback. Shouldn't they be able to do better than that with Sam Hartman and all that he's got this year?
Yeah, and you would hope that they'd work out, because the first 6 obviously had Stanford and Marshall in it. And if you remove those and fix those, you would think that, yeah. So, all right, based on the numbers.
There we go.
There we go.
I'm sold on 40.
All right.
Name on jerseys. I'm not
Names
a fan
on
of
jerseys.
it. I like the tradition of no names on the jerseys. I think it's at the college level. I think you're still earning that right for the name on your uniform. Like in the NFL, you've earned it. You know that's you. You made it to the NFL, but in the college, it's still a team game. You're still kind of working together on everything. So I don't like the names in college so much because of that reason. I think I think the only thing that throws a wrench in it these days is the NIL and knowing who is who and who's who. I think sometimes you can get kind of caught up in that sort of stuff. But I like in the college level, no names on the jerseys. I think getting to the NFL is where you earn your right to have the name on your jersey.
What do you think Vince said?
I think Vince said name on the jerseys.
Well, probably from my reaction to what you're
talking
about. My reaction over here. Well, hold on a second. How is getting a scholarship to Notre Dame not a personal achievement?
No, it is. But I still think there's another step. Like I just.
Well, there's always another step. I mean, there's another step when you're in the NFL too. It's called a bronze, face in the Hall of Fame. There's always another step.
Just my opinion.
And you are entitled to it, sir.
So what do you think about this
you can also
stadium?
Be wrong.
Yeah, that's
I can.
What do you think about the stadium project then?
So the stadium project, I think that what you're going to see going forward, like with all new stadiums, renovations, this is the blueprint that you're going to see. And I like it because when I was down at Atlanta about a month ago, I got to go to the new Braves Stadium at Truist Park. And new is relative because it's been around for like 6 or 7 years now. But I mean, to tell you, I've never seen something like that before. Like you see Wrigley, it's like Wrigley times 10. It is an entire, just like, you could almost call it its own like mini township or city. Like they built restaurants, bars, hotels, work office spaces, literally everything around that new park down there. And it's just awesome because it's, like I said, it's its own kind of just little city all intertwined. Everything you need is there. Like you got bars, restaurants, ice cream shops, workout places, hotels, condos, office spaces to work in. And I think that's the selling point that these cities are going to get. planning commissions, taxpayers, all of that stuff on board with, is if you can make it a multi-purpose type area. And when these new stadiums go up, you're using them for, baseball games in the middle of, the summer, or football games in the fall time. But then when you're not using them, you're using them for concerts. You're using them for, if it has a retractable roof, you probably want to use them for indoor basketball. So that's the way you're going to maximize the most out of these new builds and get more people on board with spending a lot of money, is if you can make it as multi-purpose as possible. And so to me, that's why I think they're awesome, because you can just build everything around it. You can make it its own kind of mini, city, like I was saying. So I'm all on board with those. I think they're really cool, and it just promotes fan interaction even more. Like you can be staying in the area but not have a ticket to a game, but still get the experience of everything that's going on around it.
Interesting. Yeah, like I was telling Vince, I think right before you came on, 15 years ago, I would say no way Notre Dame would ever do it. But after they did the Crossroads project, I'm not going to rule anything out. I don't think. And there's space over there for them to, like I said, like if that Legends has been there for a long time. I don't know what Legends does in the off season. Like it's never been that busy when I've been, it's been a while since I've been there, but when I've been there in the off season, it's never been overly busy. It seems like, but like that's an area where you could do something if you wanted to do something potentially. So I don't know. I'll be curious to see if they would ever lean in that direction. Hey, welcome to all the newcomers. If you're just jumping in with us, it sounds like Ryan and Brian wrapped up over on their show a little bit ago. Glad to have you with us here today. Before we get into some of the planned topics, thanks for the super chat, Michael. We do appreciate it. An Under Armour question: with the contract coming to an end, should Notre Dame stay with Under Armour or go with Nike or Adidas? Vince, you want to start this one off? Jesse's been talking for a while.
No, that's fine. I've got plenty of opinions on this. I don't, and you and I have talked about this probably on the show and probably off the show as well. I mean,
that's true. We can let Jesse jump in if you want, since he probably hasn't had a chance to weigh in yet.
I'll be short and sweet. Look, Under Armour, I'm cool with Under Armour clothing. I understand that Under Armour shoes aren't the best, or cleats and things of that nature. Basketball shoes that the kids have to wear. I know I've heard that that's an issue. I think, and this is going to make some people mad from a politics standpoint, and that's totally fine. Of all the three options, I mean, I do like Nike stuff, but I very much do not want it to be Jumpman. I very much would like to stay away from that. Nike, fine. Like Clemson has Nike. Alabama has Nike. Notre Dame can do Nike, and that's totally fine with me. But stay away from Jumpman. Stay away from Jumpman, and I'm happy.
Yeah, so a lot of what Vince just talked about, like I don't have a dislike in Under Armour, but I think of like their clothing, their sweatshirts, their pullovers, all that's nice stuff. But when we're talking cleats, basketball shoes, that like honestly the most important part of the whole thing is your foot and ankle stability when you're running around in a sport. And so I think Nike provides the best in that. And I mean, I wear a ton of Nike, sweatshirts, shirts, clothes, pants. So I enjoy Nike as well for that reason. And another big reason why I think Nike is, to me, got to be the leader is I guarantee if you asked any recruit coming out of high school if they would prefer Adidas, Under Armour, Nike, 9 out of 10 would say Nike. And I know that it's not a huge selling point, but I think that in terms of what young people are most interested in, it's got to be Nike. And so I just think Nike makes the most sense. They've done Adidas, they've done Under Armour. I know Nike is obviously the biggest brand probably across all college sports, but that doesn't mean you can't get a big contract out of it. And I think Marcus Freeman could do a great job really with any of the brands, but I think he could obviously hit it out of the park with Nike, just being like the face of, Notre Dame, with just whatever they want to give him, anything that they want to give him that no one else has seen yet, he will wear. And I guarantee everyone will be rushing to the bookstore.
They already are.
Where they can get it. Right. They already are.
And exactly.
I just think that honestly, there's no going wrong with any of them, but I just feel like Nike is the best for a player standpoint when you're considering foot and ankle safety amongst athletes.
Your thoughts on Jumpman, Jesse Stiers?
I like Jumpman, but I wouldn't. I'm not saying Notre Dame should go to Jumpman. I like Jumpman. I mean, I got Jordans too. You know, I actually just got a new pair the other day that I wear. So it's just, to me, Nike and Jumpman are one and the same, but I don't think that they should get consumed of going to Jumpman. Like, you know, Michigan is Jumpman, North Carolina is Jumpman. I'm trying to think of who some of the other Jumpman schools are, but like, I don't think that like
Michigan and North Carolina are the two prominent. There's actually not very many Jumpman schools in the country. I think there's fewer than 10 right now, the last I saw. So there's not a whole lot, which would put, you know, this, you're not going to like this, Vince, but it would put Notre Dame in a select group if they did go with that Jumpman decision.
They can go with Jumpman in they can go with Jumpman in basketball, not football.
This is, Tim asked why.
Yeah, to me, Jumpman doesn't feel right in football.
Vince doesn't like a basketball logo on a football jersey.
It's dumb.
It comes down to.
It's stupid. Do you want a basketball logo on a baseball uniform and a lacrosse uniform? It's dumb. It makes no sense.
No, I agree with that. I think that's why it's so confusing why the Jumpman has to be separate. Why can't it just be, you know, you're a Nike school, but you use Jumpman for basketball, you know?
Absolutely.
And that's where I think the perfect marriage would be.
That'd make sense
if you had
some combination. And I don't know if it
just
has
some
to be,
sort of combination.
I don't know if any schools have combined those or not, or like if you can combine.
But I think Vince, the Jumpman just doesn't make sense for every sport.
Yeah.
Right. Yes.
That's true. Like it's a fair point. You know, like like the Jordan logo would look stupid on a baseball uniform or a swimsuit or
a lacrosse uniform.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. But
exactly. And Irish
money's going to talk, you know. Money's going to talk in the end. And
Irish Town says they gain more Chicago fans. They love Jumpman. Notre Dame doesn't need more fans. That's not a thing. Like they don't. That Notre Dame has plenty of fans. And if somebody's going to be a Notre Dame fan because it's got the Jordan logo on it, you can go be a fan of somebody else. Like that's so stupid that you would become a fan because of the brand of uniform that they wear. That is such a terrible reason to become a fan.
I do wonder how much the NIL aspect of it is going to play into the bids that they get from these different companies, you know, like what their NIL possibilities are going to look like. Now, supposedly every Notre Dame football player had some kind of NIL with Under Armour, and a lot of athletes from the other sports did as well. Exactly how much they pay, but I'll be curious to see how the NIL aspect does play into this. I would think that you're going to have to include something along, you know, in the NIL space in this with their bids. But I mean, the Nike, whether it's Jumpman or Nike, the Nike uniforms, they tend to have a lot of different options. You know, they tend to look clean. They tend, you know, they're pretty sharp looking.
I agree. I always went with Nike for my baseball uniforms.
Yeah, and Nike, I loved when we switched to Nike finally in high school, like our jerseys. They just, to me, it's the best fit. It's the sharpest. It's the
and the
cleanest.
kids love the Nike hats, like the name brand Nike hats. They just
that's what I mean.
Well,
it just goes a long way with the younger people, I think. And to me, the Under Armour uniforms were honestly the least comfortable because they were like that tech fit. Them and Adidas were like suffocating tech fit. It was like trying to squeeze you as much as possible.
Interesting.
So,
the Adidas football uniforms were terrible. Those tight. Those are
those
terrible.
Tight ones. Like
terrible.
Tight.
Yeah.
That's funny. I've talked to some people at Notre Dame who said, yeah, you know, Adidas was just starting to make some good stuff, and then we switched over to Under Armour. You know?
I mean, that is actually fairly true. Yeah. Because
they did jump boat at the wrong time.
I know.
I agree with that, actually. Yeah.
Brent wants to know when Notre Dame will expand their home capacity closer to 100,000 if possible.
Never.
I don't see it ever. You know, one, they reduced capacity when they did the renovations. And now, since the sellout streak ended a few years ago, you're seeing, with the exception of the big games, there are empty pockets all over the stadium right now. I don't see them ever expand. You know, it's like, again, like the luxury stuff would be the big thing. Because like if we go back to what we were talking about with the hotel and an entertainment area, like Notre Dame does its own like corporate, bigwig tailgate type stuff out there by the track with the tents and all that different stuff. If you had something more permanent and you put on, even bigger, fancier, like it seems like the luxury stuff is the way they're going. I don't see them ever expanding past what they've got right now.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, like they're enclosed in. There's literally 4 buildings on the 4 sides of the stadium. They can't get any bigger unless they tear down one of those buildings, and that's obviously not going to happen in our lifetimes because they just built them. So there's nowhere for them to go to make the stadium bigger. And you're absolutely right, Sean. You make a really good point. They don't sell out all the games. You don't want to make a stadium bigger if you're not selling it out. So
shows how empty it is.
Yeah, exactly. They're not. That's not going to happen anytime. It's a good question. I just don't see that ever because they're landlocked essentially, right? I mean, they can't go anywhere else.
Yeah, you can't spend the money on those improvements that they did X amount of years ago and then kind of tear them down and go even higher. If that was your plan, you should have just done it from the beginning.
Yeah. Right. I think if they were going to do anything, it would be some kind of, they've already added a second press box and got us media staring into the sun
on the
now.
Other side now.
Yeah, that's right. But I mean, even that side is also, the media, gets squeezed a little bit and there's more luxury type stuff going in there. And that's, I just think that's the direction it'll go. If they're going to make any other additions, it's going to be like expand the press box, more luxury type stuff than anything, because that's the premium stuff that you can charge more money for and
make your money.
That's right. Donors and all that different kind of stuff. Exactly. So the Pac-12 is approved in-game and pre-game football access initiatives that are going to be implemented in their TV broadcasts on ESPN, Fox, and the Pac-12 networks this season. They will include in-game head coaches' interviews, pre-game and halftime locker room camera access, coaches and select players wired on field during the pregame, cameras in the coach's booth without sound, and extended handheld camera permission. I'm not exactly sure what that is, that last one. But what do you guys think of all this?
Yeah, so I'll take the lead on this, and I'll kind of go one by one down the list of kind of how I feel about them, because there's some things where I feel like I would be okay with, and there's some things where I'm just like, we don't really need it. So I'm just going to go through the list in that kind of manner.
Okay.
In-game coaches, head coach interviews, hate them. Not needed. They ask obvious questions. The answers are obvious. When a team is down, they ask, Coach, how do you feel? What are you going to do to change? Well, if you're getting blown out, defense needs to step up. Offense needs to score a little bit. And obviously, we're not
off head coach.
Yeah, we're not playing how we're supposed to. And then you got, the team that's winning, and it's like, yeah, we're winning. We're just going to continue to do what we've been doing and, hopefully make a couple adjustments. So
it's access for the sake of saying you've got access.
Yeah, to me, it's just completely unnecessary. But pregame and halftime locker room access, I think that's kind of cool. Seeing the coaches give the kind of, fire up, pump up speech, seeing the players kind of get pumped up coming on the field. Like,
until you're like, Brian Kelly and you say something that, offends somebody, and then you've got to apologize for it because the cameras are in the locker room at halftime.
That one I'm 50-50 on. Nice, like, I could live without it, but I wouldn't be like, wow, that's what I've been missing. That's what's going to complete my experience. So that one I'm okay with. Coaches and select players wired on field pregame. That's another one where I think it would just be kind of cool. Like, I don't need it, but it's not like I'm like, like, wow, this is the greatest thing in the world. But again, it'd be kind of cool just to, see what the players are going through, coaches are going through pregame, kind of the nerves, what that looks like, that sort of thing. Cameras in coaches' booth. I think that's stupid, and I think that it's like the only reason it's popular is because of
just ask Tommy Reese.
And it really provides no real, it just, again, doesn't provide much to the fan experience. You see a coach in there.
Here's the coach spitting in his cup, drinking a Powerade, exactly.
There's not a whole lot. And I think the extended handheld camera permission would be like walking around with a handheld camera maybe during the games, like on the sideline or something, just giving you like different pans of. So I'm majority selling on this. I just think it's not necessary. I think like some of it could be cool and kind of fun. but it's just not needed at the end of the day. It's redundant, and there's just nothing to really gain out of it, in my opinion.
All right. That was all really good, Jesse. I
Thanks.
agree with a lot of it. I do.
Remember, he missed the first 15 minutes of the show, so he's jamming all his.
No, it's all good, man. I
got
love
a coffee too. I'm still fired up.
The in-game head coach interviews, I completely agree with Jess. They're completely ridiculous. They're unnecessary, and the coach needs to be focused on coaching the game. I think that's stupid. Pre-game and halftime locker room access, I hate that with the passion of a million suns. I don't like that because a coach isn't going to be able to say what he wants to say to his players with a camera in his face.
It's not genuine.
That's not fair. Yeah, exactly. It's
unless you're Brian Kelly, and then you get in trouble and you have to apologize.
He sucks at halftime speeches. So,
well, but still, there was
he was better than Redmond, Vince.
Look. We can all feel the way that we feel about Brian Kelly. There was nothing wrong in that instance with what he said.
I don't even remember what he said.
He said, let's go out in the second. I think it was the South Florida game, and let's put the pedal down on him. I'm tired of being the nice guy. And then he had to apologize for saying, I'm tired of being stupid. What's wrong with saying him? It's not like
that's ridiculous. That's not even honestly, that's not even a good speech. And he had to apologize for it. That's the problem. That's why they should not be in there. 100%. That's why they should not be in there. Okay. And I'm sorry if this is going to offend some people, but sometimes you got to use some language with your players to get them fired up. I'm sorry. That's just a fact. And you can't do that with a camera in your face.
This might astound some pearl clutchers, but even at a Catholic university, there's some language going around.
Yeah.
If I can't even repeat the things that my coach told me in college.
Exactly. Exactly.
Non-repeatable things.
Now, there's a right and a wrong way to go about it, and I get all of that, but you're hamstrung with a camera in your face because you're double thinking everything that you want to say without getting out what you actually want to say. Get them out of the locker room. 100%. I can't stand that. It's not fair to the coaches. And that includes Brian Kelly. It's not fair to him. And, maybe his halftime speeches would have been awesome if there was no camera in his face. Maybe. Get him out. So that's one I don't like. Being wired pregame, that's fine. I mean, again, it doesn't add anything for me, but that's totally fine. Well, that doesn't bother me.
Here's what I'd say to that. I was watching the Lakers Nuggets game last night, and they had one of the players wired. Don't you feel like anytime they wire these guys,
it's corny?
Don't you feel like they're playing things up because they know they're wired and I don't feel like any of it is ever authentic. I'd like to know, some of their
put a mic on them without them knowing.
Yeah, it's like some of their teammates look at them sometimes like you don't usually talk like this. And that's how I feel when I'm listening and watching this stuff. I don't feel like any of it's authentic.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It's never authentic. So, but it doesn't matter. That's neither here nor there. You know what I mean? You really want to hear me grunting while I'm stretching? Awesome. That's fine. You can go ahead and wire me up for that. Cameras in the coach's booth without sound. They've been in there forever. There's been cameras on the coach's booth forever. They just want reactions to touchdowns and interceptions. That's what they want. And okay, fine, whatever.
And bad quarterback play.
Right. And extended handheld camera permission. My guess is they're going to run out. They're going to run onto the field with the quarterback into the huddle and then run off. And they're going to maybe a little bit more on field kind of stuff. Obviously when the play is not actually happening, but when they go to a timeout, they'll run out onto the field a little quicker. Okay, whatever. If you really want a close up of the quarterback and, whatever, that doesn't matter to me really. So, I mean, I get why they're doing it. They want to get people excited about the Pac-12.
And the TV networks pay a little bit more. They pay a little extra for this access.
That's fine
as well.
I think that's fine. I think my amendment would be the best one: pregame and halftime locker room access. I don't care about those. Give me postgame access. The celebratory locker room, or the coach what he's saying to kind of mend a tough loss, or maybe a blowout loss. What are they saying in those moments? I don't know. I think it'd be kind of fun to see the postgame more than
a lot of losses.
Than pregame and in-game.
But you can bleep that. You've got a 7-second delay. They can bleep anything they want. But
I guess I'm saying if you're dying to do something, I would be most interested in post game, not in game.
They're never going to go that way because of that, because they don't want there's a reason like NCAA games have 15-minute cooling off periods because they want to avoid that kind of stuff as much as possible, especially with hot mics. Like look at Richard Sherman and the infamous Aaron Andrews thing, a while back. They don't want that at a college game. I guess I just look at this list and how many examples can we give of Brian Kelly or Tommy Reese or whatever, and like, is this 2008? Like, is the Pac-12 just discovering this stuff that like you can do this? Like, this stuff has been around forever for the most part. Like, I'm kind of astounded that these things weren't going on in their broadcasts already, because like everybody else is doing them. And again, the in-game head coach's interview is the dumbest thing ever. Like, Jesse said it right off the top. They're no good. Maybe 10% good questions. And even when the question is good, the head coach most of the time doesn't want to answer it because you're bugging him in the game. When he's
literally like, people don't come up to you during your work day and they're like, hey, so you just turned in that proposal. What do you think about it? Your boss gave you a dirty look. What are your thoughts? Like, that's just stupid. You don't do that, and you don't bother the guy while he's trying to coach. Let him be. Let him be.
Exactly. We got another question from Matt going back to Notre Dame attendance. He said, are the high price of tickets the reason or one of the reasons they don't have much sellouts? I mean, I think it's part of the reason. I think there are a lot of reasons.
For crappy games they're high.
It's that combination.
Yes.
Crappy games and high prices. And I think the third thing on top of that is football. And I don't know that you guys completely agree. I'll see if you agree. Football is the best sport to watch on TV. To me, it's the best TV experience of all the sports. Like, compared to being at the game or watching on TV, it's a better experience for the most part watching on your television.
Well, the ticket prices thing is ridiculous. They have pretty much iced out the local crowd.
Which is crazy. Why would you not allow the common working local man to come to Tennessee State and Notre Dame for $40 off per ticket, $30 off per ticket?
I mean, back in the day, they would open it up to the public sales, and that's how they would get all of their sellouts. They wouldn't sell them out to all the out-of-town people. They would open them up like Thursday or Friday to the people around town. And remember, there would be lines out of the ticket office connected to the stadium there of people buying tickets the day before or even the day of, for that matter, and they would sell out because their tickets were like $20. Yeah. 20. And I'm not saying they got to be $20, but they at least need to be more affordable than they are now so that you can go on a whim to a Notre Dame game. Like, we used to go when I was in high school, and a bunch of buddies, we'd just walk around. We'd end up like scalping a ticket for $20. We'd go in. There was a time I remember very vividly. We're walking around the stadium. Some guy dips over the side of the stadium. He's like, hey guys, you want a ticket? And he threw tickets to us, and we like caught him and went into the game. Like, and I'm not saying that all the tickets need to be free or whatever, but people aren't doing that anymore. Like, it's way too difficult.
You can't do it now because they're all electronic.
It's all digital
too. Yeah, no one's going to throw you their cell phone and let you in. So.
My email address is V.
That's right.
Yeah, it's just
V.
It's so difficult now, and it's so expensive. Like, if I tried to take my family to a game, I'd be in the poorhouse.
Right?
They've iced out the local market, and it's a shame.
No disagreement. And they remember when they revealed a few years back when the sellout streak ended that there had been some donors who had basically, before each game, they were buying them all up, and that ended. They just said, let it end. And I think you've seen the result of that is you've seen more empty seats over the last few years. And the sad part to me is even in the student section, you're seeing a lot of empty seats. And it's like, you're a Notre Dame student. What else are you doing on those 6 Saturdays a year? That's what
I do agree with you about TV. There are times where I am happy that it's an away game because I get to just sit at home and watch the game on TV. Now there are obvious benefits to being in person because you can see the whole field and that kind of a stuff. But fighting the traffic and sitting in the stadium and all of those different things, my couch is pretty comfortable. And there are benefits to sitting at home watching the game. And you're right, it is a better experience than any other sport watching football on TV.
Yeah. And I'm not saying Notre Dame specific. I'm saying
in general,
college pro football across the board. Yeah. It's a better, because you've got all the stuff up there on your TV, which tell you what, we'll flip-flop the questions here. Speaking of which, fill in the blank. The best TV sports broadcast invention / innovation is blank.
This is easy. This is super duper easy.
Okay.
It's the ticker, or the game bug, or whatever you call it, with the score and how much time is left. If it's baseball, what inning there is, how many outs or whatever. That is by far the best invention that they've ever done for sports, because you can actually walk away, come back, and know right what everything that is going on. It's all right there. Now, don't get crazy and put way too much out there. I need the score. I need how much time is left. I need, the down and distance, the quarter, the outs, who's on base. That's it. And it's awesome. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it.
Yep. Jesse?
I would say that, or sky cameras. Like the ability, just like the ability, because the way that cameras have revolutionized, like you see the guys on the sidelines and they have like the thing they're on the big giant thing that's like moving with the play. You know what I mean? I would say that, but Vince ultimately took what I was going to say. Just the ability to have like the running score and then other scores kind of popping up too at the bottom, but having, score, time, down distance, what period, quarter, inning, whatever it might be they're in. Because like Vince said, you could walk away, come back, and still, know what's coming on. You can flip over to another game, come back, see what's going on. But that, and like I said, just the ability to do so much with cameras to get the whole scope or perspective of the play, to have the perfect angle where you can see the quarterback throw the ball, you see the ball in the air, and you see the wide receiver catch it, like all in kind of one frame. To me, that's got to be one of the better inventions.
Vince, you're old enough. Do you remember watching sporting events pre-scorebug on the screen?
Very,
old
very
enough to remember
vaguely, like very vaguely, and it's obviously gotten better as time has gone on. But I've watched replays of games without it, and it's terrible. You don't know what's going on.
Where I thought of this question, I was sitting there. I've talked about my NFL Network habit during the day, and they've been showing classic Super Bowls. They showed Super Bowl 10 yesterday afternoon. Dallas Cowboys, Pittsburgh Steelers. Super Bowl 10. And we're on what? Super Bowl 57 now or so. Yeah. This has been a while. This was the 1970s. This was 1976.
Yeah.
And Pat Summerall was doing the game. I'm not sure who he was doing the game with, but it's jarring watching these games because I keep looking at the screen wanting to see, okay, how much time left? And he kept saying, we're in the waning moments of the second period. Halftime coming soon. And literally, he was saying that for like a half an hour. And he wasn't even because the other part of that, he wasn't even saying like this many minutes until halftime. This is the score, like you would do in radio all the time. None of this is on the screen, and he wasn't saying it. He would say the score every now and then, but for all the reasons that you just said. And I do, obviously that's what I grew up with. It's more jarring now going back and seeing that because we've had this for like 30 years now. And I do remember, and I looked this up this afternoon just to make sure that I had my, sort of timeline right. It was introduced in the United States in the 1994 Soccer World Cup. And then it made its NFL intro when Fox took over the NFL contract that same year, and they called it the Fox Box. That's what everyone was calling it, the Fox Box, when it came on the screen. And I found this on Wikipedia today. Dick Ebersol of NBC Sports opposed the idea of a score bug because he thought fans would dislike seeing more graphics on the screen and change the channel during blowout games.
Oh, Dick. Wrong.
Yes. And then someone else, Variety magazine, criticized it as an annoying see-through clock and score graphic. It said that there would be people who actually watched the beginning of the game and would rather have their screen clear of graphics. Like I don't think could any of us watch a game now without some kind of score bug on the screen.
No, everyone's reluctant to change whenever it starts.
Absolutely. I was in a sports bar on vacation over spring break, and they were showing.
That's big for you.
Was eating, but
drinking his Mountain Dew.
They were showing a classic Michael Jordan game. And I want to say probably from the late 80s, early 90s, before they were super good, but they were kind of making their run a little bit, right? And I forget who I think they were playing the Pistons. It was one of those type of games, right? It's a great game. There was no bug, obviously. There's no Fox box. And I was getting super frustrated watching this game because they kept it was like an ESPN classic, right? And they kept putting up, the Bulls come back from like 30 down to win the game. And, I'm watching the game like, I don't know how far down they are. I don't know if they're closing the gap right now. Like, I have no idea what's happening.
Yeah.
It was super frustrating to watch that game. We're totally spoiled now with that. Totally spoiled.
Exactly. And I looked up some of the other innovations to kind of see, because again, like we're so used to them, like when they were introduced, the telestrator, John Madden, of course.
Boom.
Of course it would have been him. Yeah, I mean, he made it famous. He was the first to use it in a sporting event in Super Bowl 16 between the Bengals and the 49ers. I guess it was invented in the 1950s, but it took over 30 years for John Madden to first use it, Super Bowl 16 in like 1982, something like that, 83. The first down line on the field. Do you know when that was introduced? I'll quiz you guys.
That had to be early 2000s.
Jesse, guess?
2006.
He's very more specific than me. That's good.
I would have thought it was more recent as well. 1997. ESPN did it. In 1997, they won a sports Emmy for coming up with the first down line. I mean, I think that's another really good one. Like the fact, like what took them so long to put a line on the field so you know where the first down is.
But I mean, we're spoiled with that too, aren't we? Because when it's not there, you're like, well, where's the first down marker?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
It's where the orange thing is, guys. It's right there. Yeah. But I'm totally spoiled when I watch it on TV.
Yep. The strike zone box, showing the strike zone on the baseball.
That's a fairly new thing
as well.
No,
1997.
No, really? Because they have it out there like all the time now, and you can see where the ball crosses, which I don't know if I like it, to be honest with you. I don't know.
I wouldn't mind them doing away with the strike zone box.
Right. Yeah.
There's no way I'd want them to do away with the score bug, but strike zone box.
The strike zone box just adds fuel to the fire about the umpire situation.
I think so,
You're asking for problems when you show the box and it consistently shows the umpire making a bad call.
Yeah. Good call.
Yep. I agree. NFL's first Black Friday, day after Thanksgiving game is going to be between the Jets and the Dolphins. One of you and I talked about this probably last week. It's going to kick off at 3:00 Eastern time. I've seen some and heard some pushback that it should be a primetime game, not an afternoon game. What do you think, Jess?
I definitely believe it has to be a primetime game. I can't believe that it's not a primetime game because, the way I look at it on holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, whatever, and I'll add Black Friday to that list, is people got stuff going on in the day. And it's nice to have something in the evening to kind of come to, sit down after your long day of probably being with family. Black Friday, we're probably talking shopping around, recovering from Thanksgiving. I just think it makes most sense to have the games in prime time in the evening because no one wants to sit down and watch a game in the middle of their day, essentially. So I have to believe prime time is the answer.
Jesse is saying prime time. I love the afternoon.
Yep.
Like that's, I think that's the reason they're doing it is like, because so many people are also off the day after Thanksgiving. Some people have to go back to work, but you've got so many people off. Like I love having a game to watch in the middle of the day. If I'm home the day after Thanksgiving. I love that it's at 3:00 and not
Me
8
too.
o'clock at night.
100%. Maybe that makes us old. I don't know, but
Maybe that's it.
if you're a Black Friday shopper, so I saw somebody say they were going to be shopping. You're doing it at 6 a.m. You're done by 3. Come
Says
home,
who?
kick your feet up.
I got a
Well,
lot
then
of
you
people
suck
to
at
shop
shopping.
for.
You suck at shopping if it
Got to
takes
make
you
it
that
all
long.
the deals across town.
And on top of that, all this Black Friday stuff's online now. You don't need to go into the store.
Cyber
Sit
Monday.
back, get your laptop out, and
Now-
watch some football.
Chi-Town has actually got it right. He said make it daytime because the high school championship is at night. And that apparently I didn't realize the NFL actually does have a rule that when it's like the second week in December, something like that, that's when they can start doing like Friday night games, because like they've got some actual rule that they won't play games at night on Fridays because of high school games.
Irish Chi-Town,
So that is the actual reason they do it.
Nailed it. He nailed it, because that's when Indiana plays their championships on Friday and Saturday.
My wife and her mom, my mother-in-law, like they used to be one of those get up at the crack of dawn and hit every store in the morning on Black Friday.
Not a thing anymore.
Really. I think that's dead. It's like that's it's like the game is going to be on Amazon, and that's who's got your business most of the time.
Seriously.
So
that's so true. Yeah. So true.
Let's just wrap up with this one. This week marks the 45th anniversary.
Oh, I thought you were going to ask me who I'd want to be traded to.
You want to do that one? All right, let's go.
I think that one's more fun.
Okay. There's currently a commercial out there that has a fan being traded. Have you guys seen this commercial?
I have not.
It's funny.
Commercial. And the guy is like, "What?"
Okay.
He's like,
"I got traded for what?
I'm a fan." So if you were traded to be the fan of another team, what team would you want to be traded to?
This is tough.
Baseball. I can't stay in the NL. Trade me to the Boston Red Sox. I've always liked the Red Sox. I think being a fan in Boston would be a ton of fun. I think you'd be embraced. And then football-wise, again, I got to switch over to the AFC. Trade me to the Buffalo Bills. I've heard how fun it is to be tailgating at Buffalo. I've heard how nice the fans are in Buffalo. And the Cowboys got all those Super Bowls out of the Bills. So I have no problem going over to the Bills and having a good old time. And it's close to where I'm at now. So I'd go Buffalo Bills for football and the Boston Red Sox for baseball.
All right.
This is really hard.
But there'd be a lot of they'd have to give like rights to new babies and something for their fandom as part of this trade. It wouldn't be I'm a hot commodity in the fan world.
What about babies? What are you talking about?
Yeah, because like you would trade me because like
lost me.
No, like there's new kids born every day and their fandom is still up for grabs. So I'm saying,
I see
you trade me for the potential of like 5 babies and getting their fandom for me.
So you're saying you just said that your father's going to be a grandfather 5 times over. That's basically what you just said. So
John says that you want to be traded to the Eagles, Jesse.
Ooh. See, that list is a lot easier to come up with, like the teams that I would have a no trade clause for. Right. I mean, like for baseball it would be the Cardinals and the White Sox. Like that'll never happen. I can't do it. I would rather just stop following baseball. You know what I mean?
Milwaukee's on that list for me too.
Really? That's interesting.
Just
that's
the proximity of
Wrigley North.
Yeah.
That's all it is. Baseball's a tough one. I don't know where I would go with baseball. There's just a lot of teams that I really, really dislike. So I don't know where I would go for baseball. But for football, I don't know why. I've always kind of dug the Raiders. I wouldn't mind being a Raiders fan. Now that they're in Vegas, they got that beautiful stadium. I wouldn't mind going to visit that. That wouldn't be so bad. Yeah, nowhere in Michigan. Because I thought about like the Tigers, because that's my father-in-law's team. We could at least have that. We could share that. I do root for the Tigers when I go up to games with him. So maybe it would be the Tigers. It'll never, ever be anything else Michigan. So it's kind of tough. I'll say the Raiders. Why not? But yeah, it's so much easier to come up with a list of teams I would not want to follow. Like the Packers. Like I can't be a Packers fan. I can't be a Lions fan. I can't be anybody in the North. So I'd have to go to the AFC, I suppose. I don't want to be a bandwagon fan and say the Chiefs. That's no good. You got to find somebody else to hop on board. I actually like Jesse's. for some reason, I do like the Bills.
That's what I mean. I feel like you
yeah,
never have a bad time, and the fans are always
Right.
nice.
Yeah, I kind of dig that choice, but I don't want to repeat what you said. But I dig what you said.
I thought about the Bills, but I felt like that would be a little bit of a bandwagon move at this point too. It's like,
Right. Yeah.
okay, they've got Josh Allen and all that kind of stuff. Maybe once they get the new dome stadium built, in a few years, and you can sit in comfort if you're going to go to games. All right,
December 17th.
I would actually take the Seahawks. That would be the NFL team that I would take the trade
Pete Carroll.
to. It's like
Pete Carroll. I can't get on board with that. See,
yeah,
I love NFL Pete Carroll. I hate college
I do
Pete
too.
Carroll.
I do. And Pete Carroll gave me a what's up once, leaving, I think, probably his last press conference when he was the USC coach. So he walked by and he's like, hey, what's up? And I'm like, hey, Pete Carroll, what's up? And it's like I can't stand the 49ers, and like the enemy of your enemy is your friend, and that kind of thing. So I would take the Seahawks, I think, and I agree. Like with Jesse, NFL Pete Carroll is a Pete Carroll that I can get behind. Baseball, I'm already, I'm not like diehard Red Sox by any mean. I do like them,
I know you
so
do. You do.
I would just take I would take that trade. Fenway is still like a bucket list thing, I think, and maybe after that, I don't know, like Dodgers might be another one. I thought about Padres, but they're so long suffering. I don't know if I'd want to be a fan of the Padres, but I would take the weather anyway.
Oh yeah.
So,
I thought about that, going out West Coast and just really having some good weather somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always beautiful in San Diego. I mean,
someone asked what college you would go with.
College was tough. I thought
easy one for me. I was always a Texas fan.
Yeah, that's true. Yep.
I loved,
and I might just have to go with that by default, even though, Augie Garrido back when he was the baseball coach. Yep.
I had a burnt orange Texas sweatshirt, baby. I wanted to go to Texas for a long time, actually. Good engineering school, wanted to play baseball there.
That's right.
I mean, if you got a scholarship to play baseball at Texas, I mean, I would have bought some Texas stuff then.
Yeah, for sure. We all would. We'd be decked out. We actually met some people last week whose granddaughter graduated grad school at Texas, and they filled up the whole stadium, like 80,000 people for graduation down there, apparently.
That's crazy.
Nuts. Yeah.
The place is huge. The University of Texas is absolutely ginormous.
Yeah. That might have to be mine as well, because I thought, it's like I looked at all these and it's just nothing real. Obviously I have my own alma mater and
right,
the thing for Notre Dame. Other than that, Texas might have to be it by default.
Yeah, I just don't know if there's anybody out there.
And even then,
really
it's it's like now, it's like not like I pull for them. So
eventually, my kid's going to go to college.
And DePaul,
the Demon Deacons. Okay, yeah. Like I said, eventually my kid's going to go to college. I'll end up being a fan of wherever he goes, and so that'll be fun. That's why I'm trying to get him to go to Notre Dame. That way I don't have to buy any new gear.
There you go. That would help, wouldn't it?
The grades looking up.
Straight A's.
There we go.
So all right, last question. This is this week is the 45th anniversary of Chuck E. Cheese. What's your Chuck E. Cheese relationship?
I haven't been to Chuck E. Cheese since what is that?
A million years ago.
Town and Country Plaza by Dunham's.
Still there.
Still there.
World Gym. I haven't been there. I think I took a field trip in middle school, intermediate school. It's probably the last time I ever went. It got real. Chuck E. Cheese went through a down phase. I think it's actually come back a little bit recently. I think they've kind of rebranded or something. But I have a friend who takes his son there a lot. I guess that's my only real connection. But Chuck E. Cheese is not the place for me. I'm too old for that.
John says he still goes to Chuck E. Cheese.
Well, you're too old because you have no kids. That's the thing. It's not like we go there to hang out as adults, but they do sell beer. By the way. They've completely revamped Chuck E. Cheese, and there's no robot actors anymore. They've completely walled that off. And
oh, really?
Now they just have a dance floor in the middle, and a guy dressed as Chuck E. Cheese comes out and dances with you.
Interesting.
It's very disappointing. It's not the Chuck E. Cheese of old.
I mean,
I grew up with Showbiz Pizza, which then got bought out by Chuck E. Cheese. And, we did the phase of Chuck E. Cheese with my kids. We 100% did. Kids love the games and the pizza and all the whatever. And I disliked it greatly, but the kids loved it. And that's what you do as a dad. So went through it when I was a kid, and I took my kids there. It's easy. It's easy, and they love it. So
that's like the place that we used to go when I was growing up was called Straw Hat Pizza. And it was like the same, not quite as pimped out as Chuck E. Cheese, but a little bit better pizza quality, I seem to remember.
Probably
but
true.
the adults could buy their cold ones, and do their thing while the kids were playing video games and stuff like that. Chuck E. Cheese obviously sort of took it to another level. Showbiz.
Right.
I don't think I ever remember a showbiz though, but I do remember doing a birthday party or two.
Oh yeah,
when Jesse and his sister were younger at old Charles Cheese's. It's been quite a while since I've been there though.
Charles Cheese. It's well done. It's well done. My kids still talk about it all the time. I'm like, no, you're too old. We're not going there.
Yeah,
it's not happening.
The pizza was solid.
It's okay. It's edible.
Yeah.
And they charge you too much for it because you're trapped there. They don't let you bring in any outside food, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
It is what it is, and you still get the crappy prizes for the tickets, and all that stuff.
Yeah. See, now it's like we go to the bowling alley, and I think I told you, the last time Jesse and for his sisters, when did we go to the bowling alley? Anyway, we got ticket after ticket, won 1 million tickets, and she got like a little rubber cup.
Yeah, exactly. So. Exactly. You think you're going to get something awesome. You walk up with the fistful of tickets, and they're like, all right, you got some suckers here. You got a couple plastic frogs over here.
Yep.
And what would you like? And the thing that you want is like 750,000 tickets.
Exactly.
At that point, however much it takes you to get those tickets, you could have just went out and bought it.
You literally spend $50 in tickets to get the plastic cup and a dum-dum sucker,
Yep. Exactly.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for today. We've been here. We rode this one for a while.
There was a super chat.
Is there still one in there?
No, there is one. Yeah. For you guys.
Oh, Tyler wants to know. Thanks for the super chat, Tyler. Sean and Jesse, do you guys love watching the Cowboys on Thanksgiving, or do you think the NFL should switch teams up?
I'll let you go first on this one.
I used to be in the camp of I like the fact that my team was the special team and gets to play on Thanksgiving, but I've talked about this a few times before. The way the Cowboys play, I am tired of being miserable on Thanksgiving, watching them choke away winnable games. Last year was an exception because they actually beat the Giants, but I'm tired of being miserable on a holiday when you're around your family and you're supposed to be having a good time and enjoying everybody's company. Like the Raiders game 2 years ago. Do you remember that with all the freaking pass interference penalties and everything?
I was at my grandparents' house that day. Of course, I remember that. And I got looked at like I was a buffoon because I was getting so upset about how they were playing against the Raiders.
A buffoon.
I'll just say
Jesse,
this. I enjoy them playing on Thanksgiving because I think it adds to the holiday. Like I think it's become like a package deal. I look forward to it. But recently I've hated it because of what you talk about. They just play crap. And I hate when they play divisional opponents on Thanksgiving too. I think that's also very stupid. I think no holiday game should involve divisional opponents. I think
well, you know what?
Matchups that you don't typically see. I think that's what's more entertaining. But it's just, the Cowboys have played like crap on Thanksgiving the last probably 10 years or so, it feels like.
I heard something.
It ruins the holiday for you.
I heard something this week about that divisional thing. And because of this whole change with the TV thing where like how it used to be CBS, like if the AFC team was on the road, CBS would get that game and vice versa. If it was the NFC, Fox would get it, and they did away with that rule this year. One that changed a lot of that opened a lot of things up, the way games were distributed. And they basically didn't want to give up any marquee games for, like the Lions and Cowboys on Thanksgiving. So they just gave them divisional opponents this year.
Wow.
Instead, with the rationale that it's Thanksgiving and
people are going to watch
no matter
who
they play, and people are going to watch no matter what.
Yeah.
Yep. I get it.
Yep.
Don't have to like it, but you get it.
That's right. All right. Well, have a great weekend. Hopefully the weather is better where you are than where we are. I was just peeking out the window again. It
Beautiful.
looks like maybe it stopped, but well, it's coming your way.
I got a
so be
tiki
ready.
bar in my near future.
Nice. Smash the like button on your way out and subscribe, rate, and review. Have a great weekend. We will talk to you Monday on IB Nation Sports Talk.